Hello, everyone, and welcome to Full-on, your Fulham-centric football podcast. I'm your host, Ash Woolford. Joining me today for our Leeds preview is three of the members of the gang. How you doing, Drew?
I'm doing well, my friend. Good to see you all.
Yeah, good to see you too, mate. Missed you the last couple of weeks. It's nice to see you back. Matt, how you doing, mate?
Doing good, mate. Cheers.
Good, mate. It's good to have you back. And Mozza, how you doing, mate? You good?
Yeah, all fine, thank you. Hope you're all well.
Oh, fully infused for today's episode, obviously. We're here to talk about the Leeds game coming up this Saturday. Before we do, there's just a couple of bits of admin and news that we want to talk about. Um, as many of you will be aware, Fulham sadly lost one of the members of the Fulham family last month when Becco Lewis, Becco to most of us who knew him, um, he sadly passed away through cancer. He was a lovely guy. I didn't really know him loads, but I've spoken to him on a few occasions, especially at away games. That sort of see him on the concourse and have conversations. It's a sad thing that he's passed away. His family have got a GoFundMe page up where they're trying to raise some money and stuff. I will put the link in for that on the description of this episode. So if you are watching, please do go and donate if you can. The main reason for mentioning it is on Saturday during the Leeds game in the 31st minute of the game that we're trying to organise a applause for him. As always, the club won't do anything officially, so we sort of have to take it upon ourselves as a fan group. Uh, there is obviously all of the other major Fulham podcasts and websites and sort of people have been talking about it all week. So we're sort of jumping on that to pass that message over as well. So if you're at the game on Saturday, please do give other minutes applause for him because he fully deserves it. And it's a sad loss for all of us, especially those who really knew him. Let's sort of crack on with talking about the game on Saturday. It's been a few weeks since we've played at home. International break has come in and gone. We've actually managed to sign some players, so there should be a little bit of excitement going into this game. Hopefully, Drew, Leeds a bit of a tough one to sort of look at with them. They haven't really strengthened loads, but they they've also got some goalkeeper issues. What are you expecting from them?
Well, they brought in 12 players. They've got problems at the goalkeeping position because their number one, Perry, doesn't look like he's going to be fit. They've spent money on a couple of centre backs. Their problems, though, if you speak to Leeds fans, are going forward. They think they're quite resolute defensively, Arsenal's side, but Arsenal are like, contending for the title. Their concerns are going forwards. And ironically enough, speaking to a few of the Leeds fans, they sound like us in the sense that, we've talked about Fulham and our fears if we ever get involved in a shootout. We just haven't got the offensive firepower to compete with teams. They're very much similar. They think they can keep things tight, but they're concerned about their attacking options. DCL, rather, Dominic Calvert-Lewin, I think was a very shrewd signing for them. I nearly fell off my chair when I found out he was only 28 because he seems like he's been around for years. And Okafor, their Swedish striker or winger from Milan, they're expecting big things from, but he hasn't played since the first day. So I think, what am I expecting from them? I think there'll be a lot of energy. I think defensively they'll be okay, but I'm not sure how much they're going to be able to hurt us. Last famous words, we'll probably now lose 3-1.
Yeah, it would be typical. I think that anyone who's used to seeing Leeds play in the Premier League are probably used to seeing them quite gung ho going forward and sort of not really caring at the back. But Farke has definitely changed their style of play since they were last in the Premier League. So it's going to be a case of can we break them down on Saturday? I imagine too. But we'll see. Matt, let's talk about the Fulham squad, what we're expecting to come in. We got, the 3 new players joining the squad this week. Are you expecting to see any of them play? What are you hoping they can bring to sort of freshen up our attacking play?
I reckon we'll get to see Kevin. I reckon just after half time he'll come on, and I think we'll be shocked with how good he actually is. I don't think a lot of the fans realise what his technical ability is, let alone the vision that he has. I think it'll be a slow start with the new signings that we got on deadline day. It'll be like almost as a phase in with them coming in on an international break because they haven't had the time to get used to the way we play, get used to the squad that we have. But I do eventually think it will be a case of players are fighting for their position. It also means coming to the back end of the season, and whenever we lose a Iwobi for AFCON, we need to make sure that they're settled in by then, or else it has just been pretty much pointless buying 2 new wingers.
Yeah, I think that obviously we're now looking. I think we're going to lose 3 players, potentially 4, for AFCON coming up
Yeah.
in December, January. We know we're going to lose Bassi, we know we're going to lose Iwobi, and we know we're going to lose Chukwueze for sure. But we need to get these players sort of tuned in and going in. I want to see Kevin potentially from the start on Saturday. I think he's been with the squad a week now, and we know he's had a full pre-season and he's played games, so we know he's fit. It's just whether or not Marco feels he's had the time to adjust to his playing style and what it is going through. But from all the videos I've seen since he's been at the club, he does seem like he's already settling a little bit. I know there's a bit of a language barrier, but hopefully he can sort of come through and shine through. Mozza, it's a big one on Saturday. Leeds is one of those games for us that we can often sort of have tight affairs with Leeds. What are you hoping to see? What needs to be our mentality going into the game on Saturday, considering all that Drew's mentioned about their issues going forward, but they're quite resolute defensively. What do you want to see from us?
I'd like to see the same style of play we had coming out guns blazing like we did against Chelsea. Just a bit of aggression. I wasn't actually quite aware of Leeds fans feeling like that, so it's interesting from what Drew said. So I think I've made up in my head. I've made up my mind. What the score prediction will be for me, but I'll reveal that later. I think squad-wise as well, given that Marco's not much of a risk taker, we know he can be quite stubborn. I'd be surprised if any of the new signings do start. I'd love to see Kevin as well. But again, as Matt said, I agree with him too. Don't think any changes will be made until, into the second half, past the 60-minute mark. I do think we will hold more of the possession, like we seem to have done these last few opening games. I'm just looking at the table now, just to refresh my memory. 3 games in, so 1 win, 1 draw, 1 loss Leeds so far. 2-point gap. I know it's early days. And as for us, no wins, 1 draw, 2 losses, if I'm not wrong. If I've been looking at that right, I think I am, yeah.
2 draws, 1 loss, mate.
Sorry, 2 draws, 1 loss. Thank you for correcting me. We do need we need a win, don't we? Like that's good. It's going to make a big difference. This close to the beginning of the season. I don't really. I can't quite make up my mind. I'm sitting on the fence. Sorry, I'm in an R-in as I always do. But I just want to see us have a bit more attack.
Yeah, I think I fully agree with that. Drew, you weren't here post Chelsea to talk about the frustrations with the refereeing and VAR and all of that commotion and mentalness that happened on that day. What do we expect on Saturday? You know, what should Fulham expect, refereeing wise, VAR wise? Do you think we're going to be under a lot of scrutiny? I know that the refs have made an awful lot of chatter about Marco Silva and his energy on the sideline, shall we say? Do you think that that we might get some sort of fire back from it, or do you think it's a new day, just carry on?
I think there'll be, ironically enough, less scrutiny because we're playing Leeds. It's no coincidence, in my view, that our controversial decisions, or the most controversial decisions, have come against two of the big six. I'm not going to revisit the Chelsea debacle because only idiots, the PGMOL and Chelsea fans, think that Mooney's fouled Chalobah. I watched that. I don't know if any of you saw it. That program they do on Sky about when the refs, Howard Webb talks about decisions. I think it was with Michael Owen.
Yeah.
And they picked out the Manchester United penalty. But interestingly enough, no one talked about the Manchester United goal where Bassi was clearly pushed. What do I hope for? I just hope for a reasonably competent game, and I hope not to be talking about VAR, because VAR destroyed the Chelsea game and stole the Manchester United game. Regards Marco Silva, look, we all know he runs his mouth. He can't help it. I mean, a couple of seasons ago, I thought we were heading for a real situation where he was going to find himself banned for a number of games because he seems to be getting sent off every other week. Perversely enough, I don't think his card or Fulham's card will be marked simply because of the high-profile gaffes that have happened recently. I expect, and I can see why Fulham fans would be totally contrary. I think I expect us not to be on the end of anything controversial. I'm just hoping there's no controversy in the game, but with VAR, you never know. But I don't think, going back to your point, I don't think Marco or Fulham are going to be particularly targeted. In fact, if I was the PGMOL, I would be very circumspect about doing anything that might remotely appear controversial if it involved Fulham again. Especially, I mean, I'm trying to think, and I'm going to rely on you three here. I'm trying to think of a decision that's caused more controversy and drawn more attention than the Josh King disallowed goal at Chelsea, because I just really can't. I mean, every fan from different clubs will say to me, well, you're an idiot because you don't watch us and you don't remember this, you don't remember that. And I fully accept that. I am an idiot and I don't watch their teams and I don't know what goes on. But the outpouring of criticism following what can only be described as unjust decision and unjust result against Chelsea was something I haven't seen. I can't recall. So I'm kind of hoping that like I said, they'll be a little bit more circumspect when it comes to Fulham. But Silva is Silva. We all love him, but we all know that he can't help but run his mouth. Mind you, having said that, if you look at his post-match interviews, especially after Chelsea, I was amazed he didn't go nuclear, because Marco Silva of a couple of seasons ago would have probably been looking at a 3-game ban if he'd have answered questions after a game like that. So, yeah, I'm kind of expecting not to be talking about the referee, which is probably quite controversial in itself.
Yeah, it'd be nice, wouldn't it? It would be nice.
Very nice.
Like one time this season, we don't have to moan about it. You know, one thing that is for sure that we're going to have to work on is our defensive tightness, especially from set plays. We've let in a couple of we've let in 3 really easy goals, barring obviously one of them was a foul in the sense of the Man United goal, and the penalty we gave away against Brighton will all come from sort of lapses in concentration in the defence, especially around set pieces and sort of breaking through. Matt, how do we keep it tight at the back? How do we make sure that everyone's staying switched on? Is it just a case of now that Robertson's back, we may be a little bit more settled at the back because it's going to be our back 4 that we should be expecting rather than a little bit of a makeshift? Or is it going to be a case of actually it's the first time these 4 played with each other from the start this season and it might be a little bit creaky still?
I think it depends on how much involvement Robinson's had in training, it's could potentially be an absolute shit show, which it's one of those where it all depends on the mentality of the players going into the game. And ultimately, if we've got our heads on. Personally, I think first 15 minutes it's going to be a bit all over the place just until they get back into their natural swing of things. 'Cause that's something that I've noticed with being a manager. Um, First 15 minutes, whenever you've got your original set back in play, is a bit chaotic just until they get into the flow of things and almost like relearn the flow of the game. But I do think eventually it'll mellow out and it'll tighten up in the back once everyone does get that almost regular feeling back.
Yeah, I get that. Like one of the concerns for me is obviously that we've been poor from corners defensively. You know, we gave away the penalty against Man United. That yes, there was fouls all over the place, but there was a corridor the size of, you know, a runway that came through at that point. The goal we conceded, yes, Bassi is fouled, but again, there's two Man United players over have sort of run that back bit. The goal we conceded against Chelsea, yes, you know, it shouldn't have happened because of the time it happened, but the defensiveness for it was a bit poor. So one of the weird things for us is one of the things that we praised an awful lot of last season was that the concentration of Calvin Bassey was great. I think he's had a couple of moments this season where he's maybe switched off just a little bit, you know, and you know that it takes an awful lot for me to criticize Calvin because how much I love. There's no secret how much I love him, but you know, I also think we've been hard done by by calls and stuff that's happened against us, and that we haven't been too bad, you know, staying strong during play. It's just been set pieces. Sometimes we've looked a little bit, you know, awkward in the sense of, you know, who's marking who. Maybe that could just be because of, you know, how good the teams were attacking against us. Who knows? And hopefully it's just one of those things where we're going, it's only been 3 games. Like you got, if it was like over 10, 15 games, then it'd be a problem, but it's only been 3. You can't really worry about it. I don't know. We'll have to see. Drew, you know, I know that you often sort of criticize defenses when you see those sort of weaknesses. How do you feel about it?
There's quite a lot to unpack there. Going back to what Matt said, I can see where he's coming from, and I think the real key point that Matt made was about attitude. If we don't have the right attitude, then to borrow his phrase, I think it could be a shit show. But I do not think it will be a shit show because Robinson's being reinserted into the back four. If you watched us against Chelsea, in Robinson's absence, we dominated that first half and we didn't look at risk at all. I can't see how putting Robinson back in is going to make us weaker, especially because we're dealing with players that have been playing together for at least a season. And for 3 out of the 4, in terms of Robinson, Bassey, and Tete, have been playing together a lot more. So I think the defensive cohesion will be fine. But Matt's right, attitude is going to be key. I think we need to get on top of Leeds quickly. The thing about Ash, you're quite right about identifying the weaknesses from set pieces, and I take your point about the foul on Bassey against Manchester United. For me, I think it's a problem with the goalkeeper. I think that those balls came into the edge of the 6-yard box. Now, I would be demanding my goalkeeper make a move on that, even if it's just to punch the ball away. But both times, Leno has been fixed to his line, and I don't quite know why. I mean, yes, you can criticise the marking all you like, but if the ball is that close to the goal, I would be expecting the goalkeeper to come out and make a play on it. And bearing in mind, it wasn't like the ball went to the back post either time. It was pretty much bang in the centre of the goal, or just to the left where the player made contact. So, but you're right, set pieces. I mean, I know you can claim that they both shouldn't have happened because of the VAR decisions, but I would have liked to have seen Leno dominate because he's not a small man. How tall is he? About 6'1", 6'2".
Yeah, I think 6'1". Yeah, I think he's
6'1", yeah.
6'1".
So he's not a small man, and he's experienced. So I would, situations like that, if I was Silva, I'd be saying to him, "You come out, even if you put a fist on it and punch it halfway up the field, do it." But if we're talking about this on Sunday, Matt will have been right, and it sounds like it's going to have been a shit show.
Yeah, no, I think it's fair. One of the things I have noticed, and there's been a lot of talk, is I don't think that's been a Fulham problem with goalkeepers on their line this season. I think because of the new rules about tussling and touching in the box and stuff like that, I think an awful lot of goalkeepers have been unsure whether or not the right thing to do is to come out and be big and be strong. But I fully agree. I'd want my goalkeeper to be in charge of that 6-yard box, and a couple of times Leno has looked like he's a little bit stuck on his line from corners. But whether that's just because he's got, so many players standing directly in front of him, I don't know. Hopefully we're talking about a 3-game thing here and we don't see it again. But it's one of those things, isn't it? But lads, let's finish this how we always finish our match previews. Player to watch on both teams, scoreline prediction. Drew, I'll start with you, mate. Give us a player to watch from both teams and the scoreline prediction, please.
I mean, it'd be easy to say Dominic Calvert-Lewin if he plays because he always seems to do quite well against us. But I'm going to go for Okafor, the boy they brought in from it was Milan, wasn't it? AC Milan. He's rated quite highly by the Leeds fans. I mean, they have brought in the other striker they signed on a free who started off his career at Man City. And I'm going to absolutely crucify his name here, Namika. I'm not Lucas, but I'm going to go with Okafor for Leeds if he starts. For Fulham, I'd love to see the new boys starting, but I think it was Matt that said they'll be introduced in the second half. I mean, I'm desperate to see Kevin because I think he could be really exciting. So I'm going to say Okafor for Leeds and Kevin for Fulham. Oh, prediction 3. I think Fulham are going to score 3. Don't know what Leeds are going to do, but I don't think they'll score any more than 1.
Okay, cool. That's a good shout. Matt, how about you, mate? Player to watch on both teams with a scoreline prediction.
Player to watch for Leeds, I think for me has to be Dan James if he's playing. Just because of him, obviously, just to play for us. We had him on loan. For us, I've got an honourable mention in Josh King, as I want to see how he reacts to what happened in the Chelsea game. But I'm going to go for Kevin for us as the main one. I think he's going to be a star from what I've seen video-wise. I just think he's going to fit into the team nicely as well. Scoreline prediction 2-1 to us.
Okay, cool. That's pretty confident. Mozza, how about you, mate? Player to watch on both teams and scoreline prediction, please.
I'll hold my hands up, given that I don't know a great deal about the Leeds squad. I will go Dominic Calvert-Lewin and be really boring. So, Drew, you can give me that 20 quid at the game on the weekends for saying that. As for us, yeah, I want to say Kevin, but as that's already been said, I'm actually going to go for Sasha Lukic because I think he's really come on a lot in these last 3 games. I think, did he get man of the match or voted like Fulham fans player of the match last week or the week before even, last game? So, yeah, I'd like to see how he's doing because I feel like he was always standing a bit in Berge's shadow in the nicest way possible last season. But it seems to be, yeah, he's coming on a lot. Scoreline, and I've only ever got one prediction right, and I hope I'm wrong, but I think it's going to be 1-0. I've got a feeling it'll be a bit of a boring draw. Please, I hope I'm wrong.
For me, I think the most intriguing position here for Leeds on Saturday is their goalkeeper. They brought in a new goalkeeper who's injured. He's not playing. They're having to rely on Carl Darlow, who, let's be honest, is a championship goalkeeper at best, and he's sort of being thrown in, and they're sort of hoping that he's going to be good enough to cover. I think Fulham will be stupid if they don't try to pepper him with some shots early on, which means we won't because it's us, and that's what we don't. We don't take those pop shots, but you know, we need to challenge him because he could be a real weak spot for them. And I know usually when we say player to watch, it's a player that could cause us damage, but you know, with Kyle Darlow on Saturday, one or two things is going to happen. He's either going to be absolutely wank and we're going to be all right and score a couple of goals, or he's going to be absolutely world class and we won't be able to score like for a month for Sunday. So it's one of those things. For us, Kevin is obviously the obvious answer for most people to give, as you have done. Matt's probably right with Josh King. So I want to see how he how he sort of reacts to last week. But for me, it might be Harry Wilson. I imagine Harry's the one who's probably going to start on the right wing. He's the one who's probably got the most in terms of competition for his place at the moment. With Chuck Wayzer potentially coming in, and obviously Adama Traore there as well. You know, I think it's interesting who's going to miss out on the squad on Saturday, and it's the first time we've had that opportunity to say that this season. But I think Harry Wilson could be one that we know his qualities, we know how good he is, and if he's going to put a stamp on and say, actually, no, I don't care that you've just brought this player in from Italy. This spot's mine, and I want it. And we know he has the ability to do that. And we also know that obviously he was extremely close to joining Leeds on transfer deadline day. So, you know, it's one of those things that we could see there. Scoreline wise, I'm not at the game on Saturday. I got, you know, family commitments. That means I can't be there. So I'm fully expecting a Fulham 5-0 win. So solely because of that. So, you know, we'll see.
Ash, just before you wrap up, mate, I just want to throw this at you and see what you think. A lot of Fulham fans have been talking about Lukic and Berge being very strong defensively, but when we are playing teams that we fancy our chances against, maybe you should drop one of them. There's been talk about moving Iwobi into the 8, which is something that I myself, or any of our regular viewers, will know that have been advocating for some time. Do you think? I know that Silva's a creature of habit, but do you think Saturday's the sort of game that it'd be a chance to do that?
I think Saturday would be an ideal time. Leeds would be an ideal position to do that in. The only thing for me is I don't know if it's too soon after the new guys have come in to then move Alex over. But I want to see that too. I want to see games against teams that we know are probably going to be, you know, a bit more gettable going forward, and we want to rely on our strengths of going forward. That we want him to be on the pitch in that 8 position, because I think he's way better as an 8 than he is on the wing anyway, naturally. So I want to see it. I just don't know, maybe this game's too soon after the transfer window and the international break for us to see it. But, you know, if we don't see it against Leeds, I definitely want to see it against Brentford, maybe the week later, because I don't think Brentford are as good as they have been, and I think they also get a ball in the same way. But we'll talk about that next week, obviously, when we come to preview that. But I think it's a good point that, you know, the two of them are good, Sasha and Sander. We know Sasha's going for the world record of the quickest player to ever pick up a five yellow card game suspension, and he's going for the first 5 games of the season. You know, water's wet, Sasha Lukic yellow card, as they say. We'll see. Probably sooner or later that happened to sort of happen because of him missing games anyway. But you know, it'll be interesting to see. I want to see it, and I think we've also spoke about it in the past. We want to see it, but who knows? Lads, thanks very much for joining me today for the Leeds preview. We'll be back early next week with the review of this one, and then obviously we've got a couple of other episodes coming out. The Fulham Women's pod will be back to review the opening games of the season for them early next week as well, and hopefully we'll be ready for the West London derby next weekend in a good mood for this weekend's results. Just a quick reminder, obviously, as we did at the beginning of the show for the 31st minute round clap on Saturday. Please, everyone who's at the game, get involved in that. Hopefully, Fulham can give us all a good weekend. I wish you guys all a good weekend. And if you go into the game on Saturday, hopefully, I'm not going to be there, so Fulham will give you something to actually celebrate. But other than that, we'll see you all soon.